Georgia and Miami's recent losses leave big question marks heading into this week's US LBM Coaches Poll. Previously ranked number 2, Georgia fell to Mississippi, 28-10, and now faces an uphill battle with 2 SEC losses, putting their chances for an SEC championship and a college football playoff (CFP) bid at risk. Miami ranked number 4, but it also slipped in ACC play with a 28-23 loss to Georgia Tech, ending its streak of narrow victories. Despite the loss, Miami may not drop far in the rankings, as the number of one-loss teams in the Power 4 has shrunk. However, with 2 losses, Georgia's position remains uncertain as voters assess their standing among other SEC teams, like Alabama and Ole Miss. Here's how the top 10 of this week's coaches poll could shake out. Oregon, 10-0. The Ducks continue their dominance, with a 39-18 win over Maryland. With 2 games left, against Wisconsin and Washington, Oregon is set to enter the Big Ten Championship unbeaten if they can stay focused. Ohio State, 8-1 following a 45-0 rout of Purdue. Ohio State is poised to stay at the top. Quarterback Will Howard played a clean game, marking his best Big Ten performance with no interceptions and multiple touchdowns, setting the stage for another win next week. Texas, 8-1. The Longhorns cruise past Florida, winning 49-17. Despite the Gators' quarterback struggles, Texas capitalized on big plays from Quinn Ewers, who tallied 330 yards and 5 touchdowns, solidifying Texas as a strong playoff contender. Tennessee, 8-1. Tennessee's 33-14 win over Mississippi State came at the cost of an injury to quarterback Nico Iamaleava, though coach Josh Heupel downplayed the seriousness. With a crucial game against Georgia next week, Tennessee's CFP future hinges on avoiding missteps. Penn State, 8-1. After a sluggish performance last week, Penn State bounced back with a 35-6 victory over Washington, showcasing its offensive potential. It now faces Minnesota, needing a win to stay on track for a playoff spot. Notre Dame, 8-1. The Irish cruise past Florida State, 52-3, with Riley Leonard displaying dual-threat skills. Notre Dame looks like a legitimate playoff candidate with a revitalized rushing attack. Miami, 9-1. Miami stumbled against Georgia Tech, suffering a 28-23 loss. While they remain in contention for the ACC title, their room for error has drastically narrowed, making their December games must-wins to maintain a shot at the playoffs. Brigham Young, 9-0. BYU's dramatic win over Utah in the Holy War game cements their position as a Big 12 leader. The Cougars are now in prime position for a conference title and, potentially, a CFP berth. Indiana, 10-0. With a 20-15 victory over Michigan, Indiana secured their first-ever 10-win season. The Hoosiers now look to challenge Ohio State, though they're well-positioned for the playoffs, even with a potential loss. Alabama, 7-2. Alabama rebounded during their off week with a decisive 42-13 victory over LSU, thanks to a revitalized Jalen Milroe, who ran for 4 touchdowns. If Alabama maintains this momentum, they'll remain a serious contender for a national championship.